The Awakening. For 10,000 years, the galaxy had flourished without humans. The great civilizations, the crystalline Ardani, the hive-minded Volkari, and the technologically superior Zenith, had divided the stars amongst themselves, creating a delicate balance of power that had lasted for millennia. These three powers controlled everything from the core worlds to the outer rim, with dozens of lesser species serving as their vassals. In their historical archives, humanity was but a footnote, a primitive, short-lived species that had briefly ventured beyond their homeworld before mysteriously vanishing. The first sign that something had changed came from the remote observatory station on Ardani Prime. Subspace detectors picked up an unusual energy signature, a ripple in the fabric of space-time that shouldn't exist according to Ardani physics. The crystalline beings, whose bodies refracted light in cascading rainbows across their control chambers, initially dismissed it as an anomaly. "Recalibrate the sensors," ordered High Resonator Kellex, his crystalline form pulsing with blue light that indicated mild annoyance. This reading contradicts the fundamental laws of subspace dynamics. But the anomaly persisted. Within days, similar reports came in from across Ardani space. The ripples were spreading, growing stronger, following a pattern that defied explanation. Among the Volkari, the collective consciousness that united billions of insectoid bodies began to experience something unusual: fear. The Volkari Queen, whose vast mind controlled her countless drones spread across 100 worlds, felt the anomaly differently. To her, it was like a forgotten melody suddenly remembered, a distant memory of danger. "We have encountered this energy signature before," the Queen communicated to her advisory drones. "Search the deepest archives, from the time before our ascendance." The Zenith, masters of technology with bodies half organic, half machine, were the first to realize the significance. Grand Architect Telos, whose cybernetic enhancements had kept him alive for over 5 centuries, accessed records so ancient they had been encoded in obsolete formats. "It bears the signature of human propulsion technology," he announced to the stunned Zenith Council. "But that's impossible. The humans disappeared 9 millennia ago, and even then, they were barely capable of interstellar travel." Across the galaxy, minor species watched with growing concern as the three great powers mobilized their fleets. Something was coming, something that had the Ardani, Volkari, and Zenith preparing for war. On the frontier world of Terminus, at the very edge of Zenith space, Planetary Administrator Vox monitored increasing activity among the civilian population. Refugees from smaller outposts were flooding in, bringing tales of strange lights in the void and communication blackouts. "The stars are going dark," one terrified merchant captain reported. "Something's moving out there, something massive." Vox forwarded these reports to Zenith Command, but received no response. The great powers were keeping information close, preparing their strategies in isolation. The delicate balance that had maintained peace for thousands of years was already beginning to fracture. The anomaly continued to grow stronger, and now it had a direction. Whatever was causing these ripples in subspace was heading toward the galactic core, toward the heart of civilization. Ardani scientists projected its path would take it through the schism, a vast region of unstable space that separated the territories of the three great powers. For the first time in 5,000 years, representatives of the Ardani, Volkari, and Zenith met in emergency council on the neutral world of Concordia. The atmosphere was tense, accusations already flying. "The Zenith must explain these energy signatures," demanded the Ardani emissary, his crystalline form pulsing with aggressive red light. "They match your experimental weapons tests from the last century." "This is no Zenith technology," Grand Architect Telos replied coldly. "Our archives suggest a human origin." The Volkari representative, a specialized drone speaking with the Queen's voice, buzzed dismissively. "Humans, a primitive species extinct for millennia. You insult our intelligence." Before the argument could escalate further, the chamber's lights flickered. The holographic displays showing the anomaly's progress suddenly updated. Whatever was coming had accelerated dramatically. It would reach the schism within days, not weeks as previously calculated. We must form a united front. Telos urged. Whatever this is, it possesses technology beyond our understanding. Reluctantly, the three powers agreed to a temporary alliance. Their combined fleets, over 10,000 vessels, gathered at the edge of the schism. It was the largest assembly of military might the galaxy had seen since the War of Ascension 5 millennia ago. And then they waited. 3 days later, it appeared. A single ship emerged from the swirling gases of the schism. It was enormous, at least 20 kilometers from bow to stern, dwarfing even the largest Zenith dreadnoughts. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, making it appear like a void against the stars. No visible engines, no external weapons arrays, no communication antennae. Just a perfect, obsidian shape sliding silently through space. Open a communication channel, ordered Fleet Admiral Xenox of the Zenith Forces. All frequencies, all known protocols. For hours, they'd broadcast messages of peace and warning, alternating between diplomatic overtures and threats of overwhelming force. The void ship continued its steady advance, ignoring them completely. The Ardani were the first to lose patience. Without consulting their allies, they launched a volley of quantum disruptors, weapons designed to tear apart matter at the subatomic level. The energy beams struck the void ship directly, and did absolutely nothing. The beams didn't bounce off a shield or get absorbed by defensive systems. They simply ceased to exist upon contact with the black hull, as if they had never been fired at all. Panic spread through the combined fleet. The Volcari launched their biotorpedoes, living weapons that adapted to any defense. The Zenith unleashed their temporal distortion cannons, weapons that aged their targets by thousands of years in seconds. None had any effect. The void ship continued its inexorable advance, now heading directly toward the combined fleet. In response to the attacks, it finally showed signs of activity. Across its hull, lines of blue light began to pulse, flowing from stern to bow like blood through veins. All vessels, evasive action, shouted Admiral Xenox. Maximum distance, now. But it was too late. The void ship released a pulse of energy, not directed at the fleet, but omnidirectional, expanding outward in a perfect sphere of shimmering blue light. As it passed through each ship, all systems went dark. No explosions, no destruction, just total power failure. 10,000 ships, the combined might of the galaxy's greatest civilizations, drifted helplessly in space. On the command deck of the flagship, Admiral Xenox watched in horror as emergency systems failed. Life support would last perhaps hours, not days. Around him, the most sophisticated technology in the galaxy was reduced to useless metal. And then, across every communication device in the fleet, on every emergency channel, in every language spoken in the galaxy, a message was broadcast. The voice was calm, measured, and unmistakably human. This is Captain Eleanor Chen of the Earth vessel Remembrance. After 10,000 years of exile, humanity has returned. We come with a warning. You are not prepared for what follows us. In the silence that followed, 10,000 powerless ships drifted in the void, their occupants facing an uncomfortable truth. Humanity had not gone extinct. They had been preparing. And now they were back. Part 2. The Reckoning. 12 hours after the Remembrance disabled the combined fleet, power mysteriously returned to all vessels. By then, the massive human ship had moved on, continuing its journey toward the galactic core with the same implacable purpose. Emergency councils convened across the galaxy. The three great powers, their military might proven useless, turned to diplomacy, not with each other, but with the humans. On the Zenith throne world of Mechanus Prime, Grand Architect Telos addressed the High Council. The historical records have been thoroughly analyzed. Humans were not a primitive species that died out. They were systematically driven from their colonies 10 millennia ago, during the early expansion of our ancestors. Explain, demanded Sub-Architect Thalia, her cybernetic eyes narrowing. The first Zenith, the Volkuri Queens, and the Ardani Resonators all agreed that humanity posed an existential threat, not because of their technology, which was indeed primitive, but because of their potential. Humans adapted too quickly, innovated too freely. The models predicted they would dominate the galaxy within 5 centuries if left unchecked. Valia processed this with evident disbelief. Our ancestors drove an entire species from the galaxy based on predictions. Not just predictions, Telos continued gravely. Humanity had already displayed troubling capabilities. They survived 3 extinction-level events on their homeworld before achieving space travel. Their biological adaptability and psychological resilience were unprecedented. And now they've returned, Valia concluded, with technology that renders our defenses obsolete. Similar conversations were occurring among the Ardani and Volkuri leadership. The response from the 3 powers was swift. A diplomatic mission. 3 ambassadors, one from each civilization, would travel to intercept the remembrance before it reached the core worlds. The diplomatic vessel Concordia was unarmed, a transparent gesture of peaceful intent. It intercepted the human ship 5 days later in the Helios sector. To everyone's surprise, Captain Chen granted the ambassadors permission to board. The interior of the Remembrance defied expectations. Instead of sterile corridors or oppressive military design, the ambassadors found themselves in spaces that resembled natural environments from a dozen different worlds. Trees and vegetation grew from what appeared to be actual soil. Water flowed freely. Birds and small animals moved about unconcerned with the visitors. Captain Eleanor Chen met them in what could only be described as a forest clearing. She was tall for a human, with dark hair streaked with gray and eyes that reflected the artificial sunlight filtering through the canopy above. Her uniform was simple, black with silver insignia that the ambassadors didn't recognize. "Welcome aboard the Remembrance," she said. "You are the first non-humans to set foot on this vessel." The Zenith ambassador, a humanoid figure with visible cybernetic enhancements, stepped forward. "Captain, we come seeking understanding. Your sudden appearance and the demonstration of your technological superiority have caused great concern." Concern. Chen repeated the word with a slight smile. An interesting choice of words for the descendants of those who attempted genocide against my species. The Ardani ambassador's crystalline form flickered with cautious blue light. "The actions of our ancestors 10 millennia ago were continued by your civilizations until quite recently," Chen interrupted. "The systematic destruction of any evidence of human existence, the conversion of Earth's colonies into your own settlements, the quarantine of Sol system itself." The Volkuri ambassador buzzed softly, the Queen's voice emerging from specialized vocal organs. "If we committed such acts, we seek to make amends. But your vessel, your technology, you must understand our fear." "Fear," Chen nodded. "Now that's an honest word. Yes, you should be afraid. Not of us, but of what comes behind us." She gestured, and the forest clearing transformed. The trees, the soil, the artificial sky, all disappeared, replaced by a holographic display of such perfect resolution that the ambassadors couldn't distinguish it from reality. They stood in open space, surrounded by stars. 10,000 years ago, when your ancestors forced us from our homes, we fled beyond the galactic rim," Chen explained. "We built habitats in the void between galaxies, developed technology out of necessity that you can barely comprehend. We might have stayed there, building our new civilization, had we not detected them." The holographic display shifted, showing a vast darkness moving between the stars. Not a fleet or a ship, but something more akin to a living shadow that consumed everything in its path. Where it passed, stars winked out. "We call them the void. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. They consume energy, all energy, from the nuclear fire of stars to the electrical impulses in living brains. They've destroyed 12 galaxies that we know of, and now they found this one." The 3 ambassadors stared in stunned silence at the visualization. The Volkuri was the first to recover. If what you show us is real, why come with a single ship? Why antagonize the very civilizations you claim to warn? Chen's expression hardened. The Remembrance is not a warship. It's an ark. One of hundreds we've sent to different galaxies. Our mission is observation and preservation, to record the unique life and knowledge of this galaxy before the void arrives. You're not here to help us, the Zenith ambassador asked incredulously. That depends entirely on you, Chen replied. Humanity remembers its exile. Some among us argued we should let this galaxy fall. Others believed in redemption, even for those who once sought our extinction. The Ardani's crystalline form pulsed with disturbed patterns of light. How long do we have? 50 years, perhaps less. The void moves faster now than when we first detected them. And you have weapons, defenses. Chen's laugh was without humor. Against the void. No, nothing works forever. They adapt. But we've learned to slow them, to preserve what matters most. We've developed methods to shield worlds, to evacuate populations. With preparation, billions can be saved. Without it, she let the implication hang in the air. What do you want from us? Asked the Zenith ambassador. Acknowledgement, reparations, and cooperation. Chen's voice was firm. Humanity will not be denied its place in this galaxy again. In return, we offer you our knowledge, our technology, and our help against the coming darkness. The negotiations lasted days. Information was exchanged, verified, debated. The Remembrance continued its journey to the galactic core, the diplomatic vessel Concordia accompanying it. When they finally reached the core worlds, the heart of galactic civilization, the truth could no longer be denied. Long-range sensors, upgraded with human technology, confirmed Captain Chen's warnings. The void was real, and it was coming. A new council formed, not of 3 powers, but 4. Humanity took its place alongside the Ardani, Volcari, and Zenith. Ancient prejudices didn't disappear overnight, but necessity forged new bonds. Human ships emerged from beyond the rim, bringing technology and knowledge developed over 10 millennia of exile. Across the galaxy, evacuation protocols were established. Shield generators of human design were constructed around key worlds. The great libraries and repositories of each civilization were copied and secured in multiple locations. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy united with a single purpose: survival. 2 years after the Remembrance first appeared, the void arrived earlier than predicted. It came not as a wave, but as tendrils, testing, probing the galaxy's defenses. The first attacks targeted remote systems, stars suddenly dimming as their energy was drained away. The combined fleet, now bolstered by hundreds of human vessels, engaged the void at the Battle of Helios Gate. For the first time in its inexorable advance across the cosmos, the void was forced to retreat. The cost was high. Thousands of ships lost, millions of lives. But the galaxy had proven it could fight back. In the aftermath, Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of the Remembrance, watching as construction ships built a massive shield generator around the Ardani homeworld. Beside her stood the 3 original ambassadors who had first come aboard her ship. "We would have fallen without you," admitted the Zenith ambassador. "Our civilizations owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid." Chen shook her head. "Old debts are settled. We build the future together now." The Ardani ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with golden light, the color of hope in their visual language. The galaxy feared when humanity's worship appeared. "We did not understand that you came not for vengeance, but salvation." "The Remembrance was never a warship," Chen corrected gently. "It's a reminder of where we came from, what we lost, and what we might become. Humanity remembers its past, but doesn't live there." As they spoke, reports came in from across the galaxy. The void had been pushed back at multiple fronts. Human shield technology was holding. The evacuation of threatened systems proceeded ahead of schedule. For the first time, there was genuine hope. "What happens when this is over?" asked the Volcari ambassador. "If we survive the void." Captain Chen smiled. A real smile this time, reaching her eyes. Then we do what humans have always done best. We build. We explore. We create something new from the ashes of the old. The four representatives stood together, watching the stars, no longer divided by ancient hatreds, but united against the darkness. When humanity's ship had appeared, the galaxy had fallen silent in fear. Now it spoke with one voice, echoing across the cosmos. We will endure. And somewhere beyond the galactic rim, in the vast darkness between the stars, more human ships were coming home.